I intended to try and post a video every weekday, just take the weekends off, but I got busy yesterday. So I thought, based on having done a video on tariffs on Friday, that I would be done with tariffs, at least for now. But turns out that's not the case. Our President Donald Trump has announced that tomorrow, April 2nd, is Liberation Day. On this day, he's going to impose tariffs on everyone. It's like a 20% tariff on all imported goods, regardless of the country you're coming in from. And if they impose counter tariffs, which they almost certainly will do, he will match that or even double the counter tariffs. So what he's basically doing is when he imposes a tariff on somebody, he's putting a tax on me. He's putting a tax on you. That's what it is. So he puts a tariff on importing a car. That tariff is paid by you. I've already talked about that. So what he's doing is he's imposing a tax on everything that we import. So everything that you and I import is going to be more expensive. And then every other country is going to do the same thing. So their imports will become more expensive. The result is we will import less and they will import less, which means they will import less from us. So our current sitting here in the United States, we're going to look around and say, hey, everything that we used to buy is now more expensive than it was yesterday. And the stuff that we make and we sell abroad, nobody's buying that. So this is what Donald Trump has created. And this is what the economists are saying is going to cause the economy to go into a deep recession. Not just a recession, it's a deep recession. We were supposed to have we had a positive GDP growth last quarter of 2024 of 2.5%, which is a nice, healthy, positive growth. The GDP growth for the first quarter while Trump was in charge is minus 0.5. That means our economy actually shrunk, and he's just getting started. It will be much worse in this next quarter. But let's get into his head a little bit. So, Donald Trump, who doesn't know how anything works, thinks that this is what's going to happen. By making other imports expensive, we will start to build more here. So let's suppose I build batteries for electric vehicles. I'm importing those batteries right now and I'm putting them in my Dodge or whatever it is company that I have. So I'm putting them in an American car, but I'm buying my batteries overseas. Trump thinks that because he's making those batteries that we're importing more expensive, that I am now going to spend $10 billion dollars and build my own battery factory right here in the United States and create tons of jobs. There's a couple of problems with this. One is who've watched Trump's behavior over decades, know that he might wake up tomorrow morning and decide no more tariffs. So I invest $10 billion, I get the battery thing halfway built, and all of a sudden I can import batteries cheaper from overseas. So I just threw all that money away. So I know that he's not going to keep these in place, or at the very least, he'll be gone in 3.5, 4 years. When he's gone, I'll just about the time I'm completing this battery factory that I spent billions on, he's gone, the tariffs are gone, and I will start importing them again. So I've just wasted my money once again. So somehow he thinks that I can build a battery factory for free instantly and create tons of jobs instantly. And it just doesn't work that way. He doesn't know it doesn't work that way because Donald Trump doesn't know how anything works. Anything. I'm not talking just the economy. He doesn't know how anything works. Now, meanwhile, I had a kind of a list of things I wanted to go through. I write this stuff down and I try not to read off of my script. I just post the script underneath the video. But meanwhile, okay, our allies are turning their backs on us. They're having economic meetings, they're having military meetings, they're doing military planning, all without us being invited to the table. They're not inviting us because they don't trust us. They see us aligning with Russia. Within 2 months, we're out of the EU and we're now friends with Russia. Uh, After 2 months, our economy is definitely tanking. After 2 months, our military allies have said we can't trust the United States. We're going to build our own nuclear weapons now. This is going to start nuclear proliferation because now Germany has to have an army that can go to war with the United States because we are no longer allies. France has to be able to fight us. Spain has to be able to fight us. The UK has to be able to fight us. In 2 months, it's normal for people to be swept off the streets by masked people because their skin is brown. And they're put in a van and shipped off to a prison that we don't know where they're at. There's no due process. Just so in case you don't know this, if you are in the United States visiting on a visa, were born here or a citizen, doesn't matter. If you're in the United States, you are subject to laws of our Constitution, which means you have due process. You're not allowed to sweep people off the streets. It's become normal in the last 2 months for President of the United States to say he doesn't have to follow court orders. When courts say you don't have to do that, he does it anyway. His border czar has said on TV, I don't care what the courts say, I'm still going to grab up these people and deport them. And he acts like he's being a hero. Okay, I'm going to grab up these murderers and deport him. So who's going to say no to that? Well, when you take a look at who he's actually deporting, he's deporting families. He's deporting people that are brown. He's deporting scientists and doctors and researchers and mothers and children. It's just indiscriminate. So when he says, I'm deporting murderers, that's not what he's doing. He's deporting everybody that doesn't look white enough. In 2 months, it's become normal for the President of the United States to tell the Smithsonian, for example, what things it can display and what it can't display. He doesn't want anything in any museum in the Smithsonian that shows that our country has a dark past, which means, yes, we had slaves. So he doesn't want that in there because he doesn't want to have any record of the fact that we were ever did something and that was wrong. He's actually taken over the Met. I think it's the Metropolitan, but I may be getting this wrong. It's one of these big places where people go for plays and concerts and stuff in New York. He put himself in charge of it, and people are canceling right and left. They don't want to, they don't want to go have their play there because Trump is there. One of the first things he did when he took office was he said, is we can now discriminate. The government can discriminate on people we hire based on the color of their skin. That is what he is allowed through executive order. The United States government is now allowed to discriminate against people for the color of their skin, because of their religion, because of their sexual orientation, any of those things. After 2 months, it's become normal for Donald Trump's biggest campaign donor, Elon Musk, to do a Nazi salute and then go on to basically run our country. To take, Trump, who spends $30 million golfing this year, they're going to cut $30 million in U.S. aid and cause 10,000 people to die of AIDS in Africa this year. This is normal. This is who we've become. We are the dark side. We've become the bad guys. It took 2 months. I just heard yesterday that the president is firing the district attorney that is investigating one of Donald Trump's major donors. So somebody donated a bunch of money to Donald Trump and then said, by the way, here's a couple $1 million. I'm being investigated for something. And Trump goes, no problem. He tells his attorney general to fire this district attorney. And so he's using the court to do favors and make his friends or his big campaign donors above the law. It's kind of normal now for Trump for people to use a publicly available non-secure app like Signal to discuss military secrets, and to accidentally invite somebody that's a journalist on there to see these military secrets, and then act like this is old news. We're done talking about it. Let's talk about the next thing. This is normal, even though they talked about Hillary and Benghazi, or Hillary and her private email server for 15 years. And there's really nothing to that. After 15 years of investigation, really nothing to that. And yet we have this giant Signal Gate thing I talked about a couple of days ago. And it's just normal for them to say that's not important anymore. None of this is normal. So it's time to resist. I don't know how to resist, but I will. I'm going to post a couple of videos along with this. One is Bernie Sanders had a speech where he's talking straight to the camera. He's not talking to public. And I thought this is really some good stuff. So I'm going to see if I can find that. There's another congresswoman that is giving classes on how to resist. I forget what it's called, resist class or something of this. I'm going to see if I can find a link to that or a video of that and post that as well. Anyway, this is a bit of a long video for today, so I'll just leave it there. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, this is from the California-underground.com.